Hello, my name's Kerry Lewis and I'm a member of the MrBruff.com writing team. Today I'm going to talk about how to use speech marks, which we use to show when someone's talking. Speech marks can be single or double inverted commas. Single inverted commas can also be quotation marks. The first rule that we're going to look at is when the speaker is first and the speech is second. Let's read this example. She asked, "Would you like some dinner?" He replied, "Great, thanks." She said, "Then you can take me to a restaurant." First of all, we always have a comma before the opening speech marks. Then the first letter inside the opening speech marks is always a capital letter. Finally, all other punctuation is inside the closing speech marks. A common mistake is to put a full stop after a question mark and after an exclamation mark, but we don't do this because the full stop's there already, as you can see at the bottom there. Another very common mistake is to put a new speaker on a new line. It's not a new speaker, new line, it's new speaker, new paragraph. In this example, there's a gap between the margin and the first word of the new paragraph. This is called indentation. If you indent your paragraphs, you should continue to do so with each new speaker. If you prefer to leave a line between each new paragraph, then you should continue to do that instead. Let's look at what we do when the speech is first and the speaker is second. We'll read the example extract. "That was a mean trick," he exclaimed. "Sorry, couldn't resist it," she apologized. "Please don't do that again," he replied. If an exclamation mark or a question mark is inside the speech marks, the word that follows it is never capitalized unless it's the word I. Another important rule is to put a comma or an alternative punctuation mark like the exclamation mark that we see here before the closing speech marks. Now we're going to look at the rules for when you split a line of speech to add extra information. "On second thoughts," he said, "let's go out." The words he says are, "On second thoughts, let's go out." The writer has split this sentence and dropped in "he said." And we have a comma before and after "he said" to show that that's extra information that's been dropped in. The first comma is before the closing speech marks here and before the opening speech marks here. Notice that there's no capital letter here, because if we were to delete the bit in the middle, "he said," this would be continuing this sentence. Finally, let's look at what happens when we have the same speaker speaking over two or more paragraphs. In this example, the speaker Lizzie is reading the letter out loud to others, and that's why we have speech marks. The opening speech marks shows that she's beginning to talk to the other people in the room as she reads the letter out loud. The closing speech marks are not until the very, very end when she finishes speaking. Every new paragraph begins with speech marks to remind us that she's still talking. But if you see here, there's no closing speech marks there, no closing speech marks here. It's not until the end when she finishes talking that we see those closing speech marks. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to buy a copy of Mr. Bruff's Guide to Grammar, I've put the link in the description below. In the meantime, please like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you in the next video.